Thank you also for giving me the privilege to be able to talk about a soft topic as advocacy, which cannot be measured, there cannot be a graph, yet we need to do it, and yet we need to teach it. I was, and this is my conflict of interest, I was privileged to, hopefully work, I was privileged to edit a book on advocacy in neurology, which is going to appear very soon. And two of my co-editors, Professor Raja Kir and Professor Al-Alawi, are here in the audience. And the question, of course, is, what is advocacy? And this is a term that is used by many people all the time, and my talk will be focused on the social and medical aspects of it. It comes literally from something which is Latin, of course, advocare, to talk for someone or to speak for someone, and it's usually meant to have an altruistic background. The question is, who needs advocacy? And all of us who are in the room now may need it at any minute if we become sick. And who can be an advocate? Any one of us, despite being a doctor or being of a different health group, could be an advocate. And the role of advocacy is also different. It can be a navigator, it can be a mediator, it can be a person who helps, it can be a spokesperson, or it can be a person who is putting up a network for the patient. There are different steps in advocacy, and we decided to call it a micro, meso, and macro step. Micro step is a small advocacy act for one person. Macro would be for the world that we have heard before. But this doesn't mean that one thing is more important than the other. But advocacy acts are very important per se. We also have heard that there are several types of advocacy, as grassroots advocacy, self-advocacy, patient advocacy, and also there is a very important term which is called counter-advocacy, which was used in by the Indian tobacco industry to stop some of the health policies. So it can go in both directions. And of course, we all know that advocacy is very much related to cultural aspects, and one advocacy concept that would be good in one part of the world may not be good for the other one. We were looking at something which is called epistemology, and epistemology inquires how we gain knowledge and investigate its conditions. It is also concerned with different types of knowledge, and we have used this also in looking at the word of advocacy. What is truth? What are beliefs? What are knowledge? What is knowledge? And it seems that we have to be aware of the tacit knowledge. Tacit knowledge means that people often say things without words, like in kinesics expressions or in paralanguage. And signing or drawing of pain, for instance, is a good example of how we approach the idea and the needs of the patient. There's also many concepts of advocacy that come from economics, from appreciative inquiry, from design thinking, and I'm just drawing here the example of the theory U, where you have a model, you dissect it into little pieces, let it come again, crystallize it, and embody it into a new structure. And this is very important to tackle problems, and a method that is recommended to look into this. Of course, how is seen advocacy by others? Well, first of all, advocacy is all about patients. But still, patients have particular needs, and I just picked out a few. One are the rare diseases. One is the need of patients to be involved in studies. And PCORI is such an example where people with the NIH develop studies. And of course, they need guidance. And I think I will show you a little bit of a confusing picture which shows the patient way in a diagnosis of the disease. He has an emotional way. He is exposed to many health people, specialists, doctors, nurses, and he has to make an opinion. And what we need to have, what we need to advocate is that to find a way that he is sure of himself and the level of confidence in our treatment grows. I also want to mention before I come to that, that nurses also have a very strong activity in advocacy, maybe more than we doctors. And I just want to quote one sentence from our book that says, advocacy is an activity to act in the best interest of patients, in accordance with the wishes of the patients. And that's very important. This is a picture from an NGO that takes care of children. It's called SOS, Children's Village. And they started off their activities in 1949. And they were growing, and they have now 130 villages around the world. But they found out that they were only focusing on providing good service, but they were neglecting advocacy. And they started, and this was a very painful route, to introduce advocacy into their mental things. And they were highly acknowledged for their work. And you can see here the CEO with the General Secretary of the UN. And they were also recognized as partnerships. And I'm very proud to say, and for your interest, there are also 4 of those villages here in Morocco that serve that purpose. So the next question, of course, is how can we teach advocacy? Can we teach that? And of course we can. And I think as we all advocates, every physician is advocates, we have to think of how to teach it. And I want to praise the American Academy of Neurology, who entertains an advocacy workshop every year, which I'm going to tell you a little bit about it, who select applicants very carefully, and you learn to make a project, to mentor, to be mentored, and also to talk to press and get ideas how to communicate. This is at this American Academy workshop where let's see, an advocate is trained to talk to the press, and one of the most important things you learn here, bring it to a short soundbite, very short and brisk. And of course, they also introduced the world, the real life, and this was during one of their lunches. There's no free time, this is a working lunch, and you can see here a real senator who came and asked doctors questions, how a politician would talk to a doctor needing to know something. And finally, this comes back to somebody who is called Palatucci, and was an American neurologist who had this idea to produce these workshops, which are highly recommendable, and they're called Palatucci workshops. And also the World Federation has a teaching course during the World Congresses featuring this topic. What are other fields of neurology doing? And in our book, we asked quite a number of different societies, what are they doing about advocacy? And very impressive were the activities of epilepsy, ILEA, who have their own patient organization. Also, I have to say brain tumors have the IBDA, which is an independent patient organizations. But the interesting pattern here is that everybody does something else, and we need to unify our efforts in advocacy. I'm almost finished, and I think closing and ending is a very important part. As you know, any project is started with enthusiasm. It's a grand opening, and during the course of the project, like an advocacy project, the enthusiasm goes down, people disappear. But it's very important that you debrief people after a project, and you end every project by a closing where you realize what has happened, what problems there were, and what new strategies you can learn, and also how to deal with failure. Because in everything we do, we may also have failure. So this is one advocacy project of the World Federation of Neurology, and Professor Carroll has already talked about the World Brain Day. This is going to be next year in 2019, and we do hope that Morocco and the Moroccan society will participate and spread the news. The topic will be migraine, and of course other headache types, and we will do this jointly with the IHS, and we look forward to this occasion, which would reach the public and the press and inform them about the importance of headache. This is the book on advocacy and neurology, which is going to appear soon. And to finish off, of course, World Federation, you saw that slide. I have to add something, and I just add that on Monday, October the 28th, we have an advocacy forum in Dubai. It's free to enter. You just have to sign up, and we will tackle the idea of advocacy and making projects. And with that, a soundbite. The soundbite is advocacy is an important in neurology. Thank you very much.